atop the masthead, dollar rationing pushes Nigeria's wheat buyers to parallel markets. It's right there on your screen. But here's the good news for a lot of civil servants. Just trending at the bottom of the national economy. FAC, federal government, states, LGs share 605 billion naira in June. Of course, I know. You know what I say is the good news for civil servants. When
salaries are sure to be forthcoming.
What percentage of the population do you have as civil servants, even as public servants? So some of these figures now, whether they share or they didn't share, people are going to ask you, what does it mean to them?
Like the president will say, how far does it trickle down to the ordinary Nigerian? Anyway, the breakdown actually showed that the federal government was to receive 242.12 billion, 36 states of the federation 194.19 billion, 774 local government 143.72 billion. The derivation for oil-produced states is put at 26.90 billion. President Muhammadu Buhari is to proceed to London today on a scheduled medical follow-up. It may be recalled that in March 30th specifically, he was away for another medical trip. This, as announced by Mr. Femi Adesina, is a follow-up to the earlier on. And the earlier report we were talking about, the Senate President, Ahmed Lawan, has said that federal government initiative to borrow to fund infrastructure is better than belaboring Nigerians with more taxes to fund infrastructure. The Senate President told State House correspondents that federal government cannot increase taxes further because Nigeria is poor and there is need to get money for infrastructure, and therefore government has no other choice than to borrow. He says that the National Assembly, as a legislator, will not be frivolous in granting executive requests for loans. However, such requests will pass through thorough scrutiny to ensure that they are necessary, adding that when permitted to, such loans will be monitored to ensure effective use. Meanwhile, Nigeria's debt profile is now put at 33.11 trillion as at March 31st. And the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning says at the end of first quarter 2021, Nigeria's debt to GDP stood at 29%. Meanwhile, on the ambit of criminality, gunmen broke into a hotel at Tungamaji and for 30 minutes shot into the air and abducted guests, who include a former legislator of Kogi State House of Assembly. Tungamaji is along the Lokoja-Abuja Expressway between Zuba Junction and Giri Junction. Incidentally, Tungamaji and Kuje have been these strong locations where criminality, especially about kidnapping and abduction, has been on the increase. But the good news is that the FCT Police Command is reported have launched a strategic operation to rescue the abductees. And in Ondo State, there's good news. The Ondo State Police Command have arrested 2 robbers. One of them is 27-year-old Kikiowo and his accomplice Tokwe Aladeloe. Kikiowo is notorious, and he says he had been involved in robbery since the age of 7. He started with wood gun and resorted to toy guns and actually graduated to real guns that he seized from security agents. The good news is that they were planning another operation at Akure, and police intelligence got them and swooped on them at Okearo. They are now in the police net.
Hey, you have just a minute.
Thank you.
Just before you take up, the story on the front page has been trending for several days now.
Yes,
it's that of the Super TV boss, Usifo Ataga, who was murdered in an apartment in Lekki Phase 1. He lives on Banana Island in Lagos. The Lagos State Police Command say that they have now arrested the suspect, who is said to be an undergraduate, 300-level mass communication undergraduate at the University of Lagos. He's 21 years old. It's a very sad story because the gentleman was only a few days away from his 50th birthday, and he was due to travel from Lagos to Abuja to meet with his family for the celebration.
Even more troubling, Kingsley, is the involvement of the victim, a 21-year-old mass communication student.
Well, what is sad about that is that the story there indicates that they were smoking drugs
Precisely.
and drinking and got to the
Yes.
extreme extent of
Yes.
rape and murder.
Well-
that is what you get when you have this kind of impetus.
bizarre.
Yeah, well, that is the claim by the suspect.
Well,
You will have to conduct an autopsy on the dead victim to know whether he had substances in his system. That is the claim by the suspect. To say that, oh, this was what was happening, under account said, well, this is all now tried by the media, as it were. She had known him for some 4 months. It probably wasn't the first time they were meeting. So why then were you having other kind of disagreement? And by the way, the University of Lagos has not confirmed whether or not she is indeed a bona fide student of the institution, or whether she indeed belongs to that department.
no, a lecturer had actually reported that he's a student, and for about three months now, she's not been to school.
And then she claimed that the ATM card which she used in downloading the account of the victim was to enable her pay her school fees. University of Lagos is already several weeks into the second semester. So,
Well,
I mean, you can see
Kingsley,
it's unfortunate.
The story is unfortunate. Bayo. We don't want to really go into that. We allowed the police.
The other news, which
Yes.
is very important, is the 1994 promise that has been redeemed by the federal government for the Super Eagles that won the Cup of Nations. Unfortunately, now that the 3-bedroom flat is available, unfortunately, we have lost about 6 of them now. Keshi is one of those that have died. Among those that are dead are Thompson Ole, Uche Okafo, Wilfred Agbonivare. They cannot benefit. The other good news is that after 25 years, Chioma Ajunwa has been awarded a 3-bedroom flat. Governor Sanwo-Olu fulfilled a promise made by Lagos State Administrator Olagunsoye Oyinlola and awarded her a flat at Ikori.
It's better late than never.
Yes.
It's better late than never.
Why would it be? I haven't read that story.
Yes.
Why would it be that the members of the Super Eagles squad that won the Cup of Nations in 1994 but are now deceased cannot benefit from the houses that were promised?
They have families.
I think their next of kin ought to benefit. I'm just thinking aloud.
The property goes to the estate of the deceased.
Yes.
They played that match, or they played in the tournament, and they won. And the promise of pledge was to them while they were alive, and to those who were victorious.
I think what Bayo meant was that they are not alive
unfortunately,
to... Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah, but it goes to their estate.
It goes to their estate. Again, just like you have talked about sports, I also want to quickly round off with this one, with Felix Allison. I'm sure we all know the athlete. She, of course, represented the U.S. in several Olympic events. She runs, I think, the quarter mile,
400 meters.
200 meters, 400 meters. Yeah. So she had issues with her, Nike, and I think she has now, 2 years after, she has now come out with her own brand. So it tells you that you put your mind to a thing, it's doable. Yes.
Yeah, Bayo, thanks a lot for being around. But we must answer the question, why would it take 25 years, a quarter century, to build a 3-bedroom flat and deliver to persons who you consider as national heroes?
27 years.
Yeah, that's not 25 years in the case of Chioma Ajunwa.
Yes,
she won the first individual Olympic gold medal for the country at the Atlanta Games.
All right, gentlemen, thank you. Kingsley and Bayo, thank you.
Thank you.
We welcome.
You're not thanking both me. Both of us should thank Bayo.
Okay.
Don't reduce the gratitude to me.
Have a good weekend.
You take care of yourself.
Right, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria. It's happening live here in our studios in Abuja, and of course the network service. We'll be right back.
Finally, Euro 2020 is here. Enjoy all the matches live on Star Times for only 1,700 naira monthly or 160 naira per day. Recharge now to enjoy all the matches. Watch Cristiano Ronaldo of Portugal, Mbappe of France, Lukaku of Belgium, and other top European football stars. No matter where you are, Star Times is here for you. You can enjoy all these matches on your mobile phone Just download StarTimes On app on your phone to watch all the matches for 1,000 naira monthly or 400 naira weekly. Recharge today with 1,700 naira monthly or 160 naira daily. That's right, you heard me. On StarTimes, you can watch all the matches with monthly subscription of 1,700 naira or daily subscription of 160 naira. Terms and conditions apply. StarTimes. Enjoy digital life.
Here today, gone tomorrow. 'Cause you volatile like the water. And you promise what you don't know. Sometimes it's right and then it's so wrong. Them go do like say them wise. Go promise you the world. My brother all now worship. Up all on no be open eye. I see no be water. Khaki no be letter.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Guess what?
What?
I scored a hat trick today.
Cool!
Wow!
And how did you celebrate?
Just do your hands like
And
this.
hold your nose like this?
Body odor is caused by germs. That's why you need the new improved Dettol Cool soap, which protects against 99.9% odor-causing germs with an extra burst of menthol freshness. Dettol, be 100% sure.
At the first sign of pain, you need a solution that you can trust. Try Panadol Caplets. With Panadol's Optizorb formula, the tablet absorbs quickly and starts providing fast and effective pain relief you can trust. Try Panadol Caplets.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous. Whether you do it for fun or for political gains, real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA.
Dialogue, empathy, love, and unity. These are vital components of nation building.
For all to be well, we appeal that we should refrain from volatile, provocative, inciting messages and language.
Let's build and not destroy.
Right, welcome back to the program. It's Good Morning Nigeria, live on our network service of the NTA from Abuja. Now, as a prompt for the second part of our conversation on Nigeria's medicine security, I would like to take some excerpts from our earlier discussion. That's the first part, and it's put together by Ekene Ndelue.
Medicine security, in a simple way for us, argues that except the people or a nation or a country exerts sufficient input on how the medicines they consume are produced, unless there is they exert sufficient input on how those medicines are produced, access to safe, access to quality, and affordable medicines will continue to be a mirage. It will continue to be rhetoric.
The national issue is that people still like to use imported products for whatever reason, even when there's a capacity. Secondly, the regulatory framework allows these things to happen. Where most of our ports until recently were not manned by NAFDAC. And so things that shouldn't come in came in.
The national drug policy was established to be able to check and encourage the local production. Some of the objectives of the national drug policy was that it was estimated by 2010, Nigeria should be able to produce its own drugs locally.
In terms of funding, the Nigerian government has recently boosted funding to NIPRID. At the early part of the COVID pandemic, I personally engaged the Speaker of the National Assembly, Right Honorable Femi Gbajamiamila. And even without taking my mask off, he said, I recognize you, valid point, pharmaceutical sector will be prioritized, and they've backed it up. But guess what? Nigerians and Africans have a way of abdicating their responsibilities for government alone. Development of the pharma sector is not what government can do alone.
All right, now those were excerpts from the first part of our conversation on Nigeria's national medicine security. Today is part two, and we have guests with us who are in the studios, and then we also have guests who will be joining us from remote locations. First, let's welcome the Honorable Minister of Health, Dr. Osage Ihadere. So, good morning, Nigeria, once again. Honorable Minister, delighted to have you this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Also here with us in the studios is Professor Martins Omeje. He is a member of the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria and immediate past national chairman, academic pharmacists in Nigeria. Good to have you with us, Professor Omeje. Delight this morning.
It's my pleasure to be here again. Good morning.
Okay, we have two guests joining us via Zoom. Let me first welcome Professor Mojisola Adeyeye. She's the Director General, National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC. She joins us live via Zoom. Thank you very much, DG, for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's always good to be here. Thank you.
And also via Zoom, all the way from Owerri in Imo State, we are being joined by Professor Maurice Iwu. He is the President, Bioresources Development Group. Prof, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
And just to indicate that Professor Maurice Iwu, of course, is a professor in one of the subfields of pharmacy, I believe. I'm not quite sure which exactly. But Prof, again, we are glad to have you. Let's begin with the Honorable Minister of Health, who is with us here in the Abuja studios. The imperative of national medicine security cannot be overemphasized. It's only been cast in much bolder relief with the coronavirus pandemic and the resort to vaccine nationalism, as we have seen amongst producer nations. And in some cases, such as in India, which is one of the sources of imports for us in terms of medicines, sometimes we've had announcements being made as to limitations on exports of their own produced medicines. So, Honorable Minister, tell us, what is your assessment in the first instance of our national medicine security, and what has been done to ramp this up?
Well, thank you. That is a very good question. What you must first look at is the starting point. Nigeria is coming from a period when we thought we could import everything. We had enough money, we didn't need to make anything, we didn't need to manufacture. We were importing everything, including food, and we didn't encourage the pharmaceutical industry either, because we thought we would just buy them and bring them in. Now the realization is clear, because first the resources to import everything are getting leaner and leaner, and the population is growing.
Okay, Honorable Minister, I'm sorry to interject. Our engineers are telling us that there is an issue with your microphone, which the engineers will come in to sort out in the meantime. So if the engineers are here, they could then just come in and then sort out the microphone of the Honorable Minister of Health. But let's still just seek to contextualize the conversation in terms of imperative of national medicine security. Professor Morris Iwu, of course, was, I said, a professor of pharmacy and president of Bioresources Development Group, with us via Zoom from Owerri, the capital of Imo State. Prof, give us your insight into this critical subject matter.
Thank you. The issue here, I like the analogy you gave with the dancing masquerade. It seems that in our own situation here in Nigeria, that the dancing masquerade, that we abandoned our own dance and started admiring the other dancers in the field. And so we seem to have lost focus. We are totally dependent on foreigners for our drug. And as long as you are so dependent on outsiders, you can never be self-sufficient in drug development and drug production. So there has to be a drastic shift in having internal sources of medicine. And just like you said in there, I keep using that dancing masquerade analogy you gave. You can't watch the dancing masquerade outside without moving around and not dependent on one source of vision. What we have now is a situation where we are 100%, not 99%, 100% dependent on what other people do. Because even though so-called locally manufactured drugs, the actual pharmacon, the actual drug, is actually imported from outside. So in that sense, you're almost 100% dependent on foreign importation of drugs.
All right. Thank you very much, Professor Morris. Let's also get the establishing remarks by the Director General of NAFDAC, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye. Professor Adeyeye, well, again, we're all talking about national medicine security. We know that your agency has a lot of work to do in terms of having to monitor drug imports into the country, and even sometimes, substandard drugs that are produced in country. How medically secure or how medicine secure are we in Nigeria, and what is the challenge that lies ahead?
Thank you very much for inviting me. We are not medicine-wise secured at all. Just like Professor Iwu said, we are 100% dependent on foreigners to supply us what we need to make us healthy as a country. That is why we don't have security at all when it comes to medicine or access to medicines. However, if the regulatory agency is not strong, then even if we are making medicine locally, we're not going to be getting quality medicines. So to get quality medicines, the regulatory agency must be very strong. But NAFDAC is not just looking at quality. We are looking at trade also. We are looking at trade. If our medicines quality is not good, we cannot trade. Well, we can trade with other countries, but they will reject us. So NAFDAC has put in place so many systems. For example, we are just increasing our ceiling, which means a ceiling above which no importers can bring medicines into the country. We have increased that ceiling from 9 to 35 products, medicines, so that our own local manufacturers will have the drive to make medicines for us at home. However, when the only thing that the local manufacturer doesn't import is water, there's a problem. So we have to increase incentives for our local manufacturers. Nigeria is one of the worst in Africa in terms of incentives, because we have to import everything. So if the incentives like a tax rebate, rebate on packaging materials, rebate on equipment that we're using to manufacture, there would be a problem. So that is why it is important. It is a multi-sectoral approach that we have to give. Incentives is very important. NAFDAC has also done something very good, 5+5 policy, meaning if drugs are already being manufactured in the country by the bold, I will call them the bold local manufacturers, who have to provide their light, their electricity, their water. That's why I call them bold. If those drugs are being produced in Nigeria, then we should not import them. So what we have done is you've been importing for years, and at the point of renewal, at the end of your 5 years, we give you a statement. Show us how you're going to migrate into local manufacturing. These products are already in Nigeria because we're still going to be importing medicines, but not 70% importation that we are doing now. So we said, show us how you're going to migrate. And if that company doesn't show up at the end of the 4th year in that renewal cycle, we delist the company. We would delist the company so that our local manufacturers will not be facing undue competition of cheap or cheaper imported drugs. Over. Thank you.
Thank you, DG NAFDAC, for your opening comments on the status of medicine security in Nigeria. And let's return to the Honorable Minister of Health. Honorable Minister, once again, we do apologize. Technology fails when you least expect. But the good news is that we have rectified the audio. So give us your perspective. Are we truly, as the two guests say, is our medicine truly insecure, our national medicine?
Yes, what the head of NAFDAC spoke about, and to an extent Professor Iwu, is actually a description of where we are coming from. The idea that we could import everything we didn't need to make anything has reigned here in this country, and the same for drugs. People who just thought that you have to buy only imported drugs, and that's all that mattered. So focus on importing was very high, and it is this administration that is reorienting Nigerian thinking to focus on local and domestic production and manufacturing. And even the tax regimens on imports was quite unfair, because I know that during the first term of this government, we saw that the prices even on packaging and labeling and all those materials used for just to contain the drugs was very high. The duty was very high, so the government brought the duty down to make it easier for manufacturing companies here. And of course, the President's executive order on local content and business processes is all to help the pharmaceutical industry. The central bank has put down some 100 billion to support pharmaceutical industries, and they have joined in trying to access that facility to help to restructure themselves. Now, you spoke about the outbreak of coronavirus. It opened our eyes to realize that, well, at the end of the day, we are on our own, and we have to be able to take care of our own needs and demands. So there are elements going on now to ensure that we improve. The good manufacturing practices are going to be more watched over. I think 4 companies now have developed the WHO good manufacturing practices. They have reached that status. So we are looking forward to that. Nigeria is also working on vaccine production, reviving the old vaccine facility we used to have in Lagos, in Yaba. We are working very hard with the private sector participation to reactivate routine vaccine production and even bid for production of COVID-19 vaccines.
I'm sorry to interject.
Yes.
With regards to the local vaccine production, at what stage are we, and for what treatment?
Well, the local vaccine production ended around 1992. When we had a factory in Yaba, we used to produce vaccines for yellow fever. And smallpox and things like that. But at that time it ended. The factory was supposed to be refurbished, but again, we found it easier to import because the money was there, and so that initiative went to sleep. It was reactivated again and pushed forward by this regime, the regime of President Buhari, to industrialize, and we have this partnership we reawakened with a private company which owns 51%, the government owns 49%. First of all, to start manufacturing routine vaccines, the routine vaccines that we give to our children at certain intervals. And they have 15% of that market now assured with Gavi to use certain vaccines in a routine way for children, what we call routine immunization. And that agreement was there, but in order to reactivate the agreement with that company, we took 15% of this requirement of NPA CDA to give to this company to provide. It's a good amount, and they themselves suggested that figure, and it's supposed to increase over time. So they are in the stage of preparing themselves now to manufacture that component of that quantum to serve our routine immunization. But we are challenging them again to join and see how they can extend their capacity to join in the production of COVID-19 vaccines. And we have been having meetings with support of eminent Nigerians from abroad who are backing this initiative and hoping that we can be able to put our foot in the door and join those who are manufacturing for the African region.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Hanire. Let's bring in Professor Martin Semeje. Professor Ebeje, of course, you listen to the other guests, but say, look, there's some movement from where we were several years ago. But what is your reading of the steps that we are now taking towards recognizing that medicine security is imperative for us in this country?
Thank you again for inviting me. I have not seen any difference because for us in the academia, in the research sector, whatever you say, as long as research and development is not your priority, you are just talking. And the truth is that as a nation, we are good at talking. And we have been saying all of this for so long now. So it is time, and when I hear, in fact, by now, I expect that we should not be saying that COVID-19 has taught us lesson because it dealt with us. And I believe that people who shouldn't have died because we did not have plan in place for what happened. No country expected COVID-19. There was no plan for COVID-19. But countries that were strong countries in terms of research and development had plan. They had prioritized research and development. They were already in place at some level such that if anything came, then there would be a fast and a way to get at it. That's why vaccines came out. That's why countries that did not, there are many countries that up to now have not been able to access vaccines, but they are not having high mortality because they also have local therapies that they use in their own countries and nations. And that's where R&D comes. That's where it's key. So we must, when we talk about local drug production, we can only connect it to medicine security when you undertake research and development in your country. It is not enough to pick up the manufacture of anything from any country. You come to your country, you open a company, you start making the medicine. We are already doing that. We call it secondary manufacturing. We get all our APIs and excipients. In fact, you heard
what does API mean? What
CNPC or whatever? Active pharmaceutical ingredient. Active pharmaceutical ingredient. But when you hear of paracetamol tablet, for example, the paracetamol is the active pharmaceutical ingredient. But that's not the only thing that makes that tablet. There are other things we add to it because nobody can consume paracetamol. We add other things. We call them excipients. Example is starch, cellulose. We put them for it to get to the form that you can now consume as a human being or animal. All of these are imported exactly the way NAFDAC DG said it. Which means if somebody decides to send us any of those things in the name of what we say they are, and they are not, and and the person is targeting that they want to obliterate Nigeria from the surface of the earth. It's very easy. That's why we shout on medicine is a national security issue. And it is when you do your own research and develop your own product, your own natural resources, which we have in abundance, that is when you can be talking of medicine security. We should be discussing on what is our degree of medicine insecurity, not security.
So what is the degree of the insecurity in your view?
When you have already heard from Professor Ewu and DG NAFDAC, and I'm corroborating that we are insecure when it comes to medicine, then our degree of medicine insecurity is 100%.
Okay, let me also ask you. You are a fellow of the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria. What is the role of the PSN in ensuring that we have medicine security? What is your own role?
Okay, I don't speak for the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria because it has a president. Yes, I needed to make this background. But as a fellow of the society and is a strong member of the society, let me tell you first of all that it's a non-governmental organization. It only has advisory role. It cannot enforce anything. Okay, so it can only tell government or the private sector, if you do this, this is the outcome. For example, PSN is responsible for the establishment of the idea, the initiative to establish the National Institute for Pharmaceutical Research and Development came from the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria. In fact, the seed money that was used to start that institution was given by the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria. That's the kind of role it plays. As in Umuahia some 4 or 5 years ago, the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria came up with a roadmap and said that, look, that in the next 10 years, Nigeria should not import starch. That is a shame that we are importing starch. Nigeria is the largest producer of cassava starch in the world. But we import starch to make our medicines. Okay, and if you speak with the industry, they give you millions of reasons why they cannot use our starch. If you talk to the private sector, they tell you the reasons why they cannot support research. Like you heard even in the previous, the part 1 that you played, you heard the president of PSN talking about no incentive for the private sector to do their work. You heard DG NIPRID talking about the private sector not interested. All of these are true. The blame is on all of us, from everybody, including ministers. And all of us, everyone has blame. Because when you take the private sector, for example, you have to be ready for what we call national pride. We don't even have national pride. Sorry, yesterday I attended the Pakistan-Nigerian Friendship Day, and I heard a Pakistani saying that the best thing that ever happened to her in this world is that she's a Nigerian. A Pakistani. How many of us can say that about Nigeria? National pride is not there. If you look at these companies that manufacture many of these drugs in their countries, they are even ready to manufacture those drugs for their country at loss. Are we ready to do that? There's no pharmaceutical company in Nigeria that has a sound R&D unit. Because everybody is an importer, buying and selling. And for goodness sake, you don't need to go to school to do buying and selling.
But
just like as a...
You have first to be an apprentice anyway, and that's going to school.
Okay.
All right.
If you use it to justify all that is happening to us, you can go ahead and be justifying it. But I'm not playing.
No, Prof. I'm not kidding either. But the points you've made are noted. Let's pause you in the meantime. We will return. There are a number of critical issues you have raised. I want to bring in Professor Morris one more time. Professor Morris, there's a clear recognition that medicine security is part of national security. In the 80s and even early 90s, when Professor Olukoya Ransom-Kuti was Minister of Health and General Ibrahim Babangida was military president, there was something called the essential drug list that was released at the time. I mean, in the media, there was a lot of advocacy with regard to the essential drug list. Now, do we still have an essential drug list? And if we do, What does it mean in relation to our medicine security?
Thank you very much. I think the DG NAFDAC will be in a better position to talk about the essential drug list and the Honorable Minister. But the fact still remains, just like Professor Emeje just said, that unless you manufacture your own, you can never be self-sufficient in drug production and then the availability of drug. But there's one other issue that then plays. What we are dealing here with is evidence-based medicine. You don't have to take paracetamol that you make and then throw it away and insist on taking Panadol, which is a proprietary product. What is happening in Nigeria is that we have totally abandoned the internal local research and development, and you can never go anywhere without that local input. The COVID-19 has taught us a very hard lesson, namely that you cannot depend on others to be able to treat yourself. Just like Prof said, a lot of people died needlessly. We could have been able to save them. But because there wasn't this nexus, nobody was able to link the dots. NAFDAC cannot do more than you give them money to do. NAFDAC cannot overnight create drugs that do not exist. Their job is just to be able to look at the evidence we bring before them and say whether they are right or wrong. So it is a national issue. And until we're able to link up the dots, we cannot go further. When earlier on in the COVID-19 pandemic, we did alert the world, and Nigerians particularly, that we should look inwards. Something here is happening here. The death rate that we have in Africa, particularly in Nigeria, is far, far short from what the world predicted. Have we interrogated that? Have we asked ourselves, is there an epigenetic factor working here? Why is it that Africa did not go down the bus as people predicted? Why is it that we seem to be doing better even with our low infrastructure? Why is it that our drugs seem to be working? We have more evidence than the vaccine that have been pushed down our throat right now. We have more evidence in our own locally developed products, but nobody gave us that kind of mileage because it is, as was mentioned earlier, it is more of a conceptual issue here that we don't seem to have confidence in ourselves. Since 1992 that we had a vaccine production program. How far has it gone? It has gone nowhere at all because we seem to be comfortable leaning on others. And in times like this, they will just withdraw their services and we are left on our own. Just like Prof said, how about if what they are sending to us is wrong? How about if it is some delayed action drug? How about if it's something that will kill us in 3 years? What is the evidence? We don't have the evidence. We just took them hook and sinker because the way says so, we have to take those vaccines. And that's not the way it is done. Even if those vaccines are based on the most rigorous science, we have to interrogate it in our own backyard. We have to pay our own scientists to look into them and say, yes, they're okay. Take a place like NAFDAC. One single area, they will need to have multiple scientists working with them. Do we have the funding in NAFDAC for them to be able to do their work? The answer is no. I'm not an insider, but from what I know about other agencies, if you take an issue like vaccine, for example, there are multiple scientists who are going to look into that particular terrain. Even when they don't have the inside competence, they normally contract these things out to some people outside. Have we given them funding for that? The answer is no. NIPRID, that is also there. Have we funded them enough for NIPRID to be able to interrogate the area they're supposed to interrogate? The answer is no. Almost all sectors, we just wake up and believe that miracles will happen. This is 21st century. Those things don't happen like that. The people work policies and then interrogate those policies. Once the policies are okay, then they start implementing them. But we are not. Luckily for us, as I said, I believe it is some epigenetic factor that has made us sustain us so far. If not, we could have all been dead because the program we have, the policies we have, couldn't have sustained us at all. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Professor Maurice Uwu. My question, I'm going to throw my question open, but I know that the DG NAFDAC is also on standby. I would like for us to have a clearer understanding of really what we're talking about, medicine or pharmaceutical security. What does it entail? If it is what I'm thinking, which is having access and uninterrupted access to pharmaceutical products, for the well-being of every Nigerian. then who are the enablers? Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, we have over 100 of such companies in the country. So why are they not also activating the research and development that Professor Emeje is talking about? Maybe I should come back to you, Professor Emeje. Okay. Yes, because you have hit on R&D.
Yes.
As a critical aspect.
Yeah, because that's the key.
Yes. So why are your pharmaceutical the PSN generally, not activating that also? Why are you all throwing the ball, to the government?
Nobody is throwing the ball to the government. The ball is with the government. So nobody is throwing it to the government. The ball is with the government because government is governance. Government directs. It drives the vision. In your family, the leader of the family is the vision of the leader of the family that drives that family. That's what drives institutions. The vision of the leader is what drives nations. Government is supposed to have a vision, and it's that vision that every other person that is being led follows. Okay, so that's why we say government. But nobody is saying that government is the only. Remember, I said that we all have share in this blame. Once government has its vision and has laid out its roadmap, it is from there that every other person draws, either as individuals, the private sector, including companies that we are talking about, or even government agencies, institutions, or universities. Okay, so we do not have R&D agenda. What is the R&D agenda of Nigeria? Okay, now, the pharmaceutical companies that you are talking about, they are all in business. Remember, I've said that there's no national pride, okay, from that angle. They are all in business. So they are not trying to love you more than they love themselves because they are doing business, okay? But if there is a roadmap that they must follow, if there are models, if there are things that are put in place to be enforced, then they will. I'll give you an example.
But we do
Every pharmaceutical company.
We do have a roadmap. There is a 2005 drug policy, isn't it? Isn't that a roadmap?
Research and development roadmap.
Okay.
Okay, so if I'm going back to my thought, exactly the question you asked me on the role of pharmaceutical companies in R&D. The private sector, and including pharmaceutical industries, are supposed to play very key role in R&D.
Exactly.
And they have to support government. Okay, if you look at the vaccines we are talking about, the investees did the research and they were supported by the private company. And in the intellectual property sharing and all of that, they deal with it. Okay, so, but the private sector in Nigeria, the pharmaceutical companies in Nigeria will tell you that the government policy on import and export is in favor of import of finished products. As the national chairman of academic pharmacists, I and my team engaged the pharmaceutical industry because we gave ourselves 9 months to get a product of an indigenous product to the marketplace, and an owner of a big pharmaceutical industry in Nigeria told us, and he gave us a practical example. He said that a 100 ml bottle of ampicillin cloxacillin granules ready for reconstitution that is finished and is on the shelf in Nigeria as of 4 or 5 years ago was 180 naira. The patient or the customer with 180 naira will buy it. But he attempted to make it in Lagos. And by the time one bottle was ready on his shelf in Lagos, it has not gone to the pharmacy yet, which means the pharmacist, the community pharmacists have not put their markup. What he has spent in industry cost was 450 naira. So he asked us, he said, okay, you are coming from the academia. You want us to do research. You want us to do local drug production. If you were the one, he asked us, He said, Prof, if you were the one that is the owner of this company, will you continue to manufacture like this when government, because of the tariff on this finished product, the one that is coming into Nigeria is cheaper?
Okay, well, fine. You've mentioned one issue now, which has to do with tariff. I believe perhaps there you have a cluster of factors that account for this cost. And therefore, as economists, we say, once you have economies of scale, you can then begin to have a lower cost of production. I don't know what factors there are. Professor Major, again, I just want to pause you in the meantime. We know that you have a number of points to make. I want to return to the Honorable Minister of Health. I asked Professor Morris Iwu that question, and then he said that either your good self or the DJ NAFDAC would be in a position to speak to this. I was talking about the essential drug list. Under Professor Olikoye Ransome-Kuti as Minister of Health and General Babangida as military president, we heard a lot about the essential drug list. What is the nexus between the essential drug list and pharmaceutical security? And do we have an essential drug list now? Or what is it that drives our move towards enhancing Nigeria's national pharmaceutical security?
Well, the essential drug list is constantly being reviewed, constantly. And I think it was reviewed not very long ago. But it's a different package. The question of drug security is... and I'm pleased you said that Professor Emeje said that the private sector supports the government. It's the other way around. It's the government that supports the private sector. Let me give you a few examples. BioNTech of Germany actually came up with this vaccine for COVID-19. And then they partnered with Pfizer to have the Pfizer-BioNTech. The government didn't have anything to do with it. It's a business arrangement. There's a producing manufacturing company. There's a R&D company who developed the product. And then the vaccine we're using now was developed in Oxford. And then again, partnering with AstraZeneca, which is a Swedish-British manufacturing company. The government doesn't get involved. We think that the government must get involved in everything, and that is not true. But to create the enabling environment for business to thrive, and ease of doing business. This government has worked on ease of doing business more than any other government so far to make it possible. If you identify a bottleneck somewhere, bring it up, it will be looked at, and then there are many executive orders that have been issued, including local content. All of it is to encourage business here. Now, I agree with you that the pharmaceutical industries here are not very strong. They're not strong because, again, as you said, you also indicated that a lot of people have a crisis of confidence in what is produced here. If you have a product made in Nigeria, a product made in London, or made in UK, people will go for that. So it is that crisis of confidence that's also playing. When he said all of us are guilty, all of us are affected, well, he's right in a way. So we have to continue working on changing mindset, adjusting thinking, assuring consumers of the efficacy and quality of what we produce. And NAFDAC is doing a great job of doing exactly that, scrutinizing products and also marketing and working on good manufacturing practices, which 4 companies in Nigeria already have acquired WHO good manufacturing practices, and going to further to make your pharmaceutical companies reputable. Now, government also provided through the central bank 100 billion facility where pharmaceutical industries can take from or borrow, and many of them have actually done that. So that's all that government can do. Government itself doesn't go into production. You can't, we encourage R&D. I have been in conversation with Nigerians who have developed candidate vaccines for COVID-19. In Ede, I've been speaking with Professor Happy. He has a candidate vaccine. The question is how to find the money to develop it further, take it through. The question of taking it through the clinical trials. And we're looking for partners to do that because governments will focus on other things. And also another Nigerian, Simon Agwale, who also has the candidate vaccine, looking for ways to support that enterprise further, to support. But government will not capture that and take the lead and start to do it by itself. No, we make the environment for companies to take over, whether they're indigenous or even foreign.
You know, Honorable Minister, the temptation is strong. I mean, for all of us to focus on the vaccines, particularly while coronavirus is still lingering. But we do know that there are all kinds of life-threatening illnesses that require medication. And sometimes these medicines can be very expensive, whether it's for treatment of cancer, management of diabetes, management of high blood pressure. And the question then arises, because when you go to some of the pharmaceutical shops, I mean, you are told to say, look, you know, this one is generic, this one is from the original manufacturer, and so on and so forth. You go there today, the price is X naira, you are back there next week, the price is already X raised to power 2, and so on and so forth. I believe that these are some of the issues that Claire was asking about, to say, look, when you look at the totality of these things, then you get the impression that our pharmaceutical security remains in peril. What are we doing with regard to the production, whether by licensing or otherwise, of pharmaceutical products that can help in tackling life-threatening ailments?
Well, government can only open the door for investors and investment to go on, and also encourage R&D wherever it's taking place. I just told you that I'm in touch with those who are in the middle of R&D. But the pharmaceuticals themselves, they are burden. I told you earlier that we were coming from a situation where we believe entirely on import. And even now, we still, to a great degree, have a preference for imports, which we need to fight. But what is coming on stream very soon is to encourage pharmaceutical industries with bulk purchase, locally manufactured, with the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund and the National Health Insurance Scheme, when it comes on stream, to be able to provide a much improved basic minimum package of service, which will include routine treatment for diabetes, as you mentioned just now, hypertension, malaria, and so on. And for these bulk purchases, patronize only domestic industries. So we hope that that will grow the domestic industry. Those are the indirect ways that government can help, and in its own way strengthen the domestic production. But this is not an age where government takes over and starts to produce things and manufacture. We have not had much success with that.
All right, let's bring in Dr. Adeyeye. I hope our connection it's right now. The DG NAFDAC, again, preference for foreign imports. I mean, import pharmaceutical products, imported pharmaceutical products. All right, I'm told, okay, she's back, all right. So, DG NAFDAC, I'd like for us to talk more on the preference for imported pharmaceutical products. The minister just referenced it a while ago when he was speaking. And I'm wondering why we will have, for instance, Panadol, you know, produced by Emzor, and we all know Emzor is, you know, a Nigerian pharmaceutical company. And then you have so many imported competing, you know, products similar to what Emzor is doing in the market. They have been advertised on radio, on television, everywhere. Why do we have that?
Oh, that is a $1 million question. And it is to our shame as a country. And all of us have a part to play in taking this blame. It's a summation of the disease of over. We are using Panadol and a local manufacturer as an example. That local manufacturer has to import everything to make that Panadol, including the plastic that is blister pack that is going to, you know, contain the tablets. Imported products are mainly from China and India. About 70% are from China and India. And there are different scenarios. There is a book called Bottle of Lies. It was written by a journalist from the developed country, but most of the facts are from an Indian scientist. When you have an active pharmaceutical ingredient in a tablet like Panadol, which is paracetamol, you have other products, other non-active, called excipients. Our people will go to India and say, okay, I want to buy, they will offer our manufacturer, a typical manufacturer, or importer, I'm going to give you different grades of the active pharmaceutical ingredient. One is $3 per kilo. Another one is $10 per kilo. Another is $25 per kilo. I shouldn't say naturally. Many times, our importer will take the cheapest active ingredient. You can see where the price difference is going to come from. And then in that book, there's what is called the second shift. Second shift. 10 importers will have one manufacturer. We are fighting that as we speak in NAFDAC. As of Panadol, we go to one company in India to manufacture Panadol for A, B, C, D, E company. And this second shift, according to that book, and it's a fact, that the second shift will be cheaper than the first shift, meaning manufacturer A got made the highest or paid the highest amount to this manufacturer, to this company. And then manufacturer D paid less. Why? Because sometimes the active pharmaceutical ingredients in the second shift is less than the first shift. And they bring it to our country 50% less, 30% less. And if it is antibiotics, you don't have to kill somebody. You don't have to pull a knife on the throat of somebody. If it is antibiotic, you are killing them slowly because of antimicrobial resistance. What has NAFDAC done? I went with my team to India and China 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago. And I gave them the Riot Act. You want us to have a relationship? You better make sure that products that are coming to our country have quality. We changed our CRIA rules or mechanism since March 2020, when we signed all the agreements with the laboratories. We actually went to so many laboratories, 19 across India and China, and told them, we told them, these are the standards, these are the equipment that we want to see in your lab. Now we have stopped about 70 products from coming in. Products that don't have active pharmaceutical ingredients, that have less pharmaceutical ingredients, tablets that will not dissolve, because our laboratories over there that we have signed agreement with, that we have read Riot Act to, will send us results before they issue CRIA certificates. So that is why it is cheaper, but things are changing. If a company is playing or trying to make bad quality products in Nigeria, if it's in Ota, it's a matter of 1 hour we drive there. If it is East or Kano or wherever, we fly there. We have shut down the lines of some companies in Nigeria because we found their products to have less active ingredients. We shut them down for months and cost analysis. And we also find them. So when you shut a line down for about a month, it hits the pocket. It hits the pocket hard, because it is not just having access to medicine that makes us secure. It's having access to quality medicine that makes us secure. So as we are tightening the regulations for import. We're also tightening the regulations for locally manufactured products, because that is the only way. That is the only way we can have medicine security and we can trade. NAFDAC just instituted an Office of Trade and International Relations because, again, I'm mentioning it, African Free Trade Agreement. We will be shocked how many products will be coming into our country. And if we cannot sell to other countries, people going to import, is because, first of all, they don't have to go through infrastructure somersaults. The non-active pharmaceutical ingredients are there cheaper. The capsules are there cheaper. Everything there is cheaper, even if it is good quality active pharmaceutical ingredients or excipients. Unlike now shipping it into the country. And when you get into the country, sometimes it can stay for months at customs. It can stay for, so this is a multi-sectoral issue that we all have to wake up to, because nobody can say, oh, I will never be sick. And if we say you will never be sick, to the distributors, to the pharmacists, but like we are saying, the government also has to. We have to know that cut imports, research and development. I was a professor. I'm still a professor, but I was actively a professor for 30 years. To do a research that can be published, it takes at least 3 years. That is if you have the design very well. Our government has to put money into R&D. I was on the National Institute of Health panel from since 2000 up to when I came to the country. We review, this is government agency. We review proposals in millions of dollars that they submit. The government funds it. Most of the patents that America has now came from the university. The government was funding actively R&D. And it is not just, funding to give a little money. The infrastructure of the university itself is conducive enough for research and development. For example, the government just gave CBN a go-ahead to do the intervention scheme that I'm chairing. That is a sign, or a step in the right direction. But we can cost a lot, and if we invest in it, 5 years, 10 years, we're going to reap it. It's an enterprise. Our students have to be trained from the university to know how to ask questions, because that's research. What if? If the environment is not even conducive for students to think outside the box, or to the professor itself to think outside the box, then we cannot even have productive R&D. The students that we are getting out now, the graduates, are not prepared even to fill the vacuum in the manufacturing. Has to put money into research, and also the government to patronize local manufacturers. Over. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, DG NAFDAC. I think that you are all virtually on the same page with regard to what needs to be done to enhance Nigeria's pharmaceutical security. But just clear, while the DG NAFDAC was talking about funding R&D, say in the universities, I was just wondering, there is TED Fund. And the purpose of TED Fund, of course, is to fund tertiary education. Mostly what we hear about are physical structures, either to conferences or otherwise. But it may very well be, because TED Fund, I believe, has quite a huge reserve. 2% of companies' tax goes to TED Fund. To say, look, okay, can we then devote a certain percentage of that 2%? Continue to take a look at. We'll go on a short break now. When we return, we'll get back to our guests.
You know what the country is now. Just go into this. And I thought of it, I started making research, then I started doing my father's business. And that was how I started selling ads. I sell ads here and there.
You that you were able to give somebody 5,000 naira, you're the one that is now begging 5,000 naira. It affects your sense of worth.
Structural support for the Igbo apprenticeship model so that we can replicate those models across various societies.
In 5.5 years, this government has created 45 youth-focused programs.
It is not the role of government to be creating jobs for people.
Boys are willing to get their hands on anything just for this bar. And the government, if they are this slow, they will not be able to withstand what will come.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Guess what?
What?
I scored a hat trick today.
Cool.
Wow.
And how did you celebrate?
Just do your hands like
And
this.
hold your nose like this.
Body odor is caused by germs. That's why you need the new improved Dettol Cool Soap, which protects against 99.9% odor-causing germs with an extra burst of menthol freshness. Dettol, be 100% sure.
Nigerian youths are about the greatest asset the country has at the moment. It is therefore not surprising that the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari is strategically responding to the yearnings of the youth through multiple projects and programs. Youth entrepreneurship support, yes, by Bank of Industry, the Youth Investment Fund by the CBN, and several other conditional cash transfer programs. Recruitment of 774,000 social workers, majority of whom are youths, and so many other projects that are beneficial to youths directly or indirectly. If the administration can do all this, definitely with a degree of patience and time, it can achieve more. Nigerian youths must come together to say no to terrorism, no to vandalism, and no to all disruptive tendencies. Hashtag Youth for Greater Nigeria. Pacifying the youths, unifying the nation.
It's the dawn of a new era on NTA's flagship program, The Sports Parliament, revitalized with lots of varieties, including feedback responses from viewers. Sports Parliament, the weekly sports show that exposes all the intrigues in the Nigerian sports sector and projects an agenda on the way forward for Nigerian sports. On NTA every Thursday at 10:30 p.m., running for 1 whole hour, discussing sports. The parliamentarians are more committed than ever to enlighten the viewers as the Sports Parliament takes it to a whole new level on the floor of the House. Keep a date with the Sports Parliament as motions are moved every Thursday on the floor of the House. Mr. Speaker, with his gavel to harmonize sports resolutions. The House have it.
The much anticipated UEFA Euro 2021 is finally here. Can Portugal defend the title they won 4 years ago as they face world champions France, Europe giants Germany, Spain, Italy and England? Catch all the action via live transmission, in-depth studio analysis, fixtures, results, updates, and lots more on NTA, Africa's largest TV network. For sponsorship and advert placement, contact Bola on 08037044286 or Idris on 08034633644. This broadcast is proudly brought to you by NTA in partnership with Media Business Solutions, MBS Sports.
All right, you're welcome back to Good Morning Nigeria. Just to remind you that you can also be part of our conversation by using our Facebook address at GMN, NTA GMN. Now, let me take my question to Professor Maurice Iwu, who is joining us via Zoom from Owerri. Prof, the point has been made by almost everybody of the need for a strong R&D. And just a while ago, Kingsley also muted the idea of, some percentage that could be devoted from the budgetary line of TED Fund and devoted for pharmaceutical research. But be that as it may, you are a professor and you have, come out with some locally researched brands, and you have been pushing for mainstreaming your brand for acceptance. Can you share with us some of the issues that have been limiting, your brand from entering or from being accepted or integrated into orthodox medicine?
Thank you very much. First of all, let me correct one impression that the Honorable Minister seemed to have gotten, namely that government in a third world continent. Then when you move, you can also understand that when it comes to Oxford AstraZeneca, Oxford is a university because it is Britain. They are not really the stage of the US, so they have to have a binary fusion between the two. But instead of the lamentation, I think something positive is happening based on our own experience. When we started with the COVID-19 therapy, we approached NAFDAC. It took time for NAFDAC to be able to respond. But as soon as NAFDAC listed the product for clinical trials, a whole lot of things started happening. The DG of Raw Materials Council gave out some farmers some help to be able to supply us with the raw material that we needed. Immediately that happened, some farmers, 118 farmers, formed themselves into a platform of growing those crops. You could see how it is flowing back into the economy. The issue here is that if given the support, the government have to play a central role. Let me also explain what is happening. The Madam DG of NAFDAC will also bear me out in this. In the US, it looks as if it is private sector. No, behind the scene, there is serious government intervention. You don't see it. It's the secret hand of the US government that is playing out in the COVID-19 therapy. And also, if in our own case, we are not asking for a handout, not at all. Because as soon as we started having a product, a major pharmaceutical company called Nimet now distributes the IHP detox tea, which is mainstreaming it. And also the other product that we are working on with nitrate, for example, the artemisinin. If, for example, government has sat us together and said, look, we want this thing happen, customs, any request for any drug manufacturing, any that you should have, give it SOS. Then we are working the same thing. When we're talking about government intervention, it's not necessarily cash. It's the enabling environment. You'll be able to talk to those who are concerned, talk to people in the NTA, that if anything coming about drug manufacturing, drug supply, give it a special window so it doesn't stay at the wall for so long. So that's what happens. So in the type of TED fund, again, the government policy, if the government tells people in the TED fund sector that you must put a certain percentage for non-facility support, that is, they'll be able to use it to buy chemicals and so on, they will do that because it is a government policy. So back to what is happening, it is not all us lamenting and so on. Things are happening and happening well. But the issue there, for example, even if you make the best vaccine, let me tell you how it is a closed shop. You will not sell it in Nigeria because we already have supply agreement with Gavi and other agencies. So you have to really pass through a hurdle. Again, without government support, you'll be wasting your time. Everything revolves around government in a third world setting. We are not the first. Then the two countries that we go to buy our medicines, India and China, one thing they have in common, that they have a dual system, a parallel system. Their traditional medical systems are strong, freeing a lot of their own resources to be used in the few manufacturing industries they have. Some diseases, let us face it, diabetes, high blood pressure, they have no Western treatment at all. All they do is maintenance. They give you treatment drugs that you'll be taking all the days of your life. They don't cure you. And so we should be able to allow our own local traditional system, if they claim those things. Evidence-based medicine means that there has to be a conscientious effort to marshal out the evidence that you have. As I mentioned earlier, we took the vaccine to grow the whole world, but there is little evidence to prove that, to show that it works. little evidence. And yet we took it in terms of believing them that, yes, those vaccines are good. The evidence I'm talking about, because there are vaccines, there's a time factor. It's just like pregnancy. It has to last 9 months. We don't have that time yet, where we have been able to look at the evidence that they give us. We're only believing them. But if you also follow what happened here, remember the chloroquine data, that it was later on found that the whole thing was cooked up by the West, and some kind of this fallout. We were all almost going to drink that drug globally, until it was found that the data that they supplied the world were all false. So what I'm saying in effect, that you cannot rely on another person for your own medicine security. You have to do it yourself. Even if it's the best scientist in the world, you have to interrogate whatever they give you to make sure that they have given you the right thing. And that is the only way government must be the person playing the center. You have to fund NAFDAC. I like NAFDAC being conservative. We put products on the pipeline. It takes months. I don't blame NAFDAC, because you have to have the wherewithal to have expertise, to have be able to contract. You have to fund NIPRI. Most important, you have to fund the universities. None of the pharmaceutical faculties have an industrial park. What stops them from having one? In which case they can make something like paracetamol and be able to make small synthesis for our own particular need. Not for export for now, but there's no such thing happening. The other issue, that there is a paradox of the excluded middle here. The pharmaceutical companies don't make drugs. Know that what they make is the pharmaceutical products, the finished product. The actual making of this in a heavy chemical industry that manufacture those active pharmaceutical ingredients. We don't have any. We also need industry to be able to make even the excipients. We don't have any. So at the end of the day, it still falls back to government. Governments have to, that's why I'm really making this point, that the Honorable Minister for Health must really assume that there has to be an 80-20% spread. Namely, 80% of their budget has to be going to outside. They only retain 20%. Even the NIMA in Lagos, they have to be funded enough to give grants. That's why it's done outside. The whole thing to me is so laughable. We are not yet serious and ready. Now, the COVID-19 has taught us a very bitter lesson. You cannot depend on other people's masquerade to be able to enjoy yourself. If you want to be able to entertain the same masquerade issue you don't look at it from one side, but you have to also have your own masquerade. And in this particular case, we have totally dismantled our own masquerade, and they are dying, and we are not doing anything about them. Thank you.
All right, Professor Morris, thank you very much there for your points. You touched on one issue that I would like Professor Emeje to also explain. You see, there's been copious reference to active pharmaceutical ingredients. Now, who produces the active pharmaceutical ingredients? Earlier you talked about industrial starch, which is from cassava. We also hear that yam can be a source of a number of pharmaceutical derivatives. Although at some point it was suggested that we should be exporting yams rather than getting the value from that yam. Who should lead? Yeah, I'm not saying we're part of it. Who should lead the production of active pharmaceutical ingredients? That's one. And then two, I think we should also be wary of maybe having a blanket condemnation of our pharmaceutical security. I know that there is a syringe factory somewhere in Akwa Ibom that is producing. Syringes are important. I don't know what else is being produced, whether we produce bandage, whether we produce plaster, whether we produce gloves, and a few other things that you need to find, in a hospital environment. But take my question, Professor Emeje.
Thank you very much, and I'm glad at the way it is all being encapsulated, and you can see that we are beginning to get to the same table in terms of agreeing on what should be done. Chemical companies make chemicals. So there are companies that specialize in the synthesis or industrial manufacture of active pharmaceutical ingredients. There are also companies that want to specialize in the manufacture of excipients like starch, cellulose, and all of that. There are also companies that will be specialized in making syringes and needles. In fact, as a pharmacy student at the Ahmadu Bello University Zaria, we went to the pharmaceutical industry in Zaria that was making syringes, Zarinject. In fact, it was one of the best syringe and needle making company in Nigeria for the entire West Africa. The current chairman of the Pharmacists Council of Nigeria, Professor A.T. Mora, was the managing director of that company when we were students in Zaria. Today, they don't make any syringe. So that's
what are they doing now?
So I don't know.
Pure water or something?
I don't know what they are making now, Kingsley. But you see, so when we say government, these are all the reasons why we say government. I believe that the honorable minister will agree now that they produce the vision, and we everybody is supposed to key onto that. So he's going to start to speak to all the people that are sitting there, saying that government is supposed to provide the necessary leadership for us to support. Because as long as we don't get those little things together, we will all be moving in different directions. Because if our minister, that we believe that our minister, we are to support the vision, the roadmap that is being led. If he says, no, you are supposed to do something, then we support you. Then we will be moving in different directions. When we agree that, okay, you provide, we support, or no, it's you that should provide, we will support, we will agree. Then, we will, as a nation, all of us will move in one direction because we are a family. And so if we go back to those companies, a pharmaceutical company can decide to specialize. It's based on your expertise and your own infrastructure. You can decide that, okay, I'm going to be involved only in making of secondary active ingredients. You see, because active ingredients are also of different grades. There are those ones that are chemicals that are not used for consumption, that we call are chemicals, and they go to the laboratories where we use for research. Then when you are now going to the one that will be consumed by man or animals, you don't use the same grade. The purity level is not the same.
Yes, we have to stop. We have to stop because we are going to do deep into the chemical aspect of the whole thing.
No, Claire is very important, because the more he spoke, the more I just asked myself, I'm sorry, to say, look, you have some quoted companies on the stock exchange dealing with chemicals and so on and so forth.
Yes.
How well involved they are. I mean, if you go to the Ikeja industrial area in Lagos, I mean, you will see some of these ones, but apparently they are not adequate. And therefore, for policy consideration, it is not, it appears from what has been said, not sufficient to say, okay, we have given the pharmaceutical industry 100 billion naira to pursue their business. Now, the supporting industry, such as the chemical industry, those who may produce, who are probably enabled to produce active pharmaceutical ingredients, ought also to be brought along.
Yes,
that's the point.
Yes, that's the point, and that's why, for example, there is starch for food. But not pharmaceutical grade, because the simple step that is responsible to make it to the pharmaceutical grade, the industry will tell you the cost implication. And vis-a-vis the policy of government on importation gets that cheaper than the one they are making. So government must say, look, we can do this. Leave your own. We want to do our own.
It must not just be starch and banga alone.
Yes.
With dry fish.
Yes.
We are running out of time. Let's bring in the Honourable Minister for his closing remarks, and that will be on what you think should be the immediate enablers to offset, our dependence on pharmaceutical, products, and then a little bit more on the 100, the CBN's intervention fund that you have talked about.
Yes, well, it's there. And that's why if you have a free market system, you have entrepreneurs. Somebody will come up and say, we want to work on, and I've seen one or two people come to say, we want to work on production of active pharmaceutical ingredients. And then all you have to do is back that person. So because government has a huge array of things to look after, huge. Pharmaceutical, in fact, the medical side, health side, just one. Very important, the most important, but is one of a large number of things that they have to look into. So we need the active participation, the active encouragement of those who are in that area, either in the commercial area, in R&D area, in the industrial scientific area.
You have 30
all
seconds.
of them have to come up.
30 seconds.
Yes, all of them have to come up with the support to say, This is what we want, and we back it. As we are backing now those who are looking for clinical trials for the vaccines that they have produced.
All right.
Okay. Sorry. Honorable Minister, thank you very much. I'm going to try and get some starch and banga this weekend. I don't know where to get it in Abuja, but
I think the Magic can supply that.
Maybe Professor Magic can supply
I'm sure you see the smile on Kingsley's face when he talks about food.
In fact,
Kingsley. All right. Let me appreciate the Honorable Minister for Health, Dr. Osage Ehanire. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. Professor Martins Emeje, Fellow of the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria and immediate past Chairman of the Academic Pharmacists in Nigeria. Thank you. Let me also appreciate Professor Maurice Iwu, Presidential Bioresources Development Group. Thank you very much, joining us via Zoom from Owerri. And DG NAFDAC, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye. We appreciate both of you for joining us for this conversation. And Kingsley, your closing remarks.
That's it on Good Morning Nigeria for today and indeed for the week. We are back on Monday, same time, 7 in the morning. Until then, do enjoy yourself. As I've promised, I'm going to try and look for a joint to get banga and starch.
Well, for me,
I'm Kingsley Osadola.
For me, I'll go and do for Amala and Begiri. I am Claire Adilabu Abdulrazak. You have a great day, and don't also forget to join in our fight against rape and rapists. From all of us here, bye-bye.
NTA, you can't beat the rich.
This is the network service of the NTA.
The creative industry is not quiet about Nigeria's 22 years in democracy. Just days ago, creatives in various sectors, including comedy, music, and even poetry, celebrated this milestone in ways they know how to do best.
There was the Democracy Day edition of the Night of 1,000 Laughs, headlined by comedian Godongs, among many other comedians, who indeed cracked the ribs of guests, yet told us the reality of Nigeria today.
There was also an event in honor of late reggae star Rasky Mono. So if you are a big fan of the late rumba style crooner and you would love to see performances of, some of his hit songs, get in here.
Get in here too. If you're a poetry fan, well, even if you are not, listening to young poets on our show today may just convert you. On that note, we say a warm welcome to Clicklight on the Nigerian Television Authority, where we discuss everything entertainment. I am Butro Miller.
And I am Ekemini Williams. Thank you for joining us.
Hallelujah.
Remember the days of Aliwa, Amen, Tafa Aliwa, Inanti Azikiwe. Yes, he's my favorite of them all because he was born in the north, schooled in the west, but hailed from the east.
E-News is up first.
This clip of DJ Cuppy with world boxing champion Anthony Joshua has generated one of the most ridiculous comments online. Somewhere in London, DJ Cuppy must have taken her puppies, named Dudu and Fufu, out for a good time. However, we can't tell if meeting up at some point and introducing her puppies to Anthony Joshua was a coincidence. This is where online users began insinuating that DJ Cuppy is applying all the tactics ever recorded to become Anthony's lover and maybe soonest his wife. This has been a long-standing insinuation. But hold on, fam. Take a closer look at Anthony in this video. 80% of his time, he looks utterly distracted and detached from a girl who supposedly is craving his attention.
Where I come from, see me them a dancing now. Corbin now. Dancing now. Dancing now. See me dancing now.
Self-named Mama Africa Yemi Alade has been honored by the United DJs in Africa with an award of Best Female Artist in Africa for her music all over the continent. The Fizi music group signee expressed appreciation on her Instagram page, saying,
Yemi Alade, thank you so much. Thank you. I am so blessed and honored to receive this award for the best female in Africa. United African DJs. Our DJs are definitely our angels on earth when it comes to music, and I'm super excited and thankful that this came to me in the year 2021.
My name is Soccer. They call me Omoni, one of Nigerian comedy, or Tuta, one of Nigerian comedy. If you are watching me every time, you know I'm used to one word, I funny die. Keep watching. Click light, NTA. Keep watching. Don't touch the die. If you touch and you want to increase the volume.
Congratulations to Yemi Alade, aka Mama Africa, on your awards. Well, it's also funny when people just see two Nigerians trying to just maybe have fun or get to know each other.
One male and one female Nigerian.
They are both Nigerians now, you know, maybe they're just trying to...
Now Mila is trying to be mischievous.
Trying to know each other more now.
Now you have hit the nail on the head. They are trying to know each other more. Well, we don't know if they are trying to, or they already know each other more. But the thing is, it's becoming more than a coincidence that DJ Cuppy is always in Anthony Joshua's corner. I don't know who is in whose corner, but from this last clip, it looks like he's always in his corner. And I don't think, it does not look reciprocated. The energy she's actually putting out to him does not seem reciprocated. It's always as if it's like, oh, okay, and he's just being cautious, like, oh, hello. But you don't see any...
You could also say maybe he's just thinking about his fights that are coming up, you know.
And that tells you that the energy is not directed towards her, it's towards his, career. So maybe that's not what's on his mind at this, point in time.
You have a point, because you never can tell. It might become a distraction to his games,
Now, still talking someone in the music industry, it's been 3 years since the passing of Nigerian reggae music icon, Keleke Elumelu, aka Raskin Mono. Yet his legacy stays fresh in the minds of many. A few days ago, his family members organized a virtual memorial conference and lecture in his honor. Quick Life was there.
Now listen, Arumba style, Arumba style. This I want Arumba, Arumba style, Arumba style. This I want Arumba.
From his hair to his dress sense, even his dance style, all remain iconic. There may never be another like the chubby Nigerian Rastaman, Raskin Mono. His songs Under Pressure, Rumba Style, and many more were major bangers in the 80s. In fact, Rumba Style was a party favorite back in the day. Both young and old rocked his songs.
Me plenty in a beat, me plenty in a free, all kind of style. In case you never
Not forgetting how he used his music as a vehicle for socio-political change and development in Nigeria and Africa.
under pressure, Nigerians under pressure, Africans under pressure. No food, we belly, no money in our pocket, no bed.
All of these legacies and more were celebrated by reggae lovers, associates and family members of the singer at the virtual conference in the FCT.
He was a sincere person, a truthful person, a humble person, and a real, true freedom fighter.
He's a legend, bigger in act than many of us. Like somebody said, he was the first person that took Nigeria out to the world in terms of music. Kimono.
The late icon's daughter, Oge Kimono, who is towing her father's path in music, performed some of his songs at the memorial conference.
Africa must be free. I tell you, whole Africa must be free.
Inspired by her father's philosophical lyrics of seeking freedom for humanity and justice for the oppressed, Oge joined the music industry 15 years ago as a backup performer for her father's musical band.
He is a man that has touched so many lives, and like you rightly said, I am a legacy, being that I am an offspring of his, and I'm also into music, just like he was, you know. I said he's the man of the people, and if there's anything that he doesn't like, it's oppression and injustice. So Kimono is definitely a man that will stand when he sees a next man being oppressed or not getting the justice that he deserves, you know. And he also preaches about equality.
Ras Kimono's songs have sold over 100,000 copies across the world. He has continued to be an inspiration for many, especially those in the music industry.
In our city, everywhere, down we go, we see them. Some are crying, some are dying, some are weeping, some are wailing. Everywhere, down we go, on our pressure we.
Well, Ras Kimono, who can be referred to a prophet like Fela, whose words are in play in Nigeria today. Well, moving forward, to celebrate Nigeria's 22nd years of democracy, some talented young people came together in a poetry slam, not for the sole purpose of competing for a cash prize of 100,000 naira or to entertain guests, but also to encourage more youth participation in governance.
Contrary to your popular belief,
there were a team of 3 judges, 4 participants, over 40 guests and 1 anchor.
It's really different when you're performing. You know, you're just doing it for the fun of it. You're just expressing yourself. You just want your audience to feel good, to feel fine, to snap fingers. But then you're doing it for the money. You know, it's very, very different. And I really, really appreciate every one of you.
The event, tagged Data Lead Africa Poetry Slam, centered on democracy, accountability and transparency for all, attracted youths who were involved in various endeavors but share one interest in poetry.
this city had everything you need, but if you still had your options, you wouldn't want to dwell in it. Nevertheless, this city was so beautiful that nobody living in it was considered to be ugly. There was fresh air, clean water.
The contestants performed their self-composed poems on the theme, exploring data for a more democratic nation, using poetry as a tool.
Days before power holding, we are tales by moonlight. Before super stories, now telling novellas are our stories. You see, I remember the days of the kobo. When 1 naira 50 kobo was what made the big boys in nursery school. Local sweets and candies were my rush at the sound of the bell. But apart from the kobo, I miss the koboko. Days when children feared the stick or a cane, spare the koboko and spoil the child. I heard about the days of Bacha. But I miss the days of JJ Okocha, a name we all love forgetting our ethnicity and difference. Then Kanuanko, I remember when all you needed was a broom buried in your hair, uncrossed finger to play a game, Robadede. I remember the days of Alewa, Amen, Tafa Alewa, NTA, and yes, he's my favorite of them all because he was born in the north, schooled in the West but hailed from the East. A lot of us are like him. Hausa men who love banga and fufu, Yoruba men who love kuka and kalkashi. How many of us are born in our states today? How many of us school in our states today? But today, every form you pick has states of origin. The origin we originally never knew is now what separates us.
Wake up from the transparency and work with transparency. So hey man, I am a man. Hey Nigeria, you are a country. Just one that needs serious fixing. So bro, let's get to work.
They were smooth and all evoked brilliance and humor. Their message was clear as a billboard. Youths must strive for self-development, while government should make political participation for youths affordable.
Because to bribe and be bribed is a survival skill, and we've all learned the intricacies in these places where our votes count in Big Brother Nigeria, but not in our political space. Because the climb to power peak is one extreme sport done with speedy paces, performed by desperate feet and greedy faces. But I'll tell you this for free, in all of your power chasing, the 48 laws of power is a joke. There's only one law of power you should know. Thou shalt have a strong godfather. Because these godfathers hold tight to power the way a relay runner holds tight to his baton. So if your connection no strong past 5G network, your political ambition is nothing but pep talks. All is fair in love and war, but not in these elections where the rate of rigging is 5-star like Waka. If godfatherism was a football club, it sure would be Baka. With the way they make power pass us by tiki-taka. This democracy na soccer, and our leaders are ballers.
Love It Liberty beat 3 orders in the contest to win the cash prize.
The essence for us is not just to get performers to perform, but we really want to get young people become more interested in national discourse. Oftentimes, the national discussion is happening in a language that is not our language. You know, it's happening, they call terminologies that don't really appeal to us. They use media that really we do not oftentimes connect with. You know, so in a way, technically, you see young people are cut away from the dialogue, the discourse, the national discourse on democracy, on leadership. And we thought of how can we bring this dialogue to get young people get involved. If we want to get a democracy that represents, that looks like us, then we have to get involved. We need to stop shying away from this discourse.
All right, what's up, people? What's up, Abuja? What's up, Nigeria? My name is Ghana Mogul, CFRJ, PK Longman Boy, Sister Nipali, Niger Free Data, and of course, that confirm Worry Boy. Keep it locked to Click Light on NTA.
Abuja hosted one of Africa's biggest comedy shows, known as a Night of 1,000 Laughs, during the Democracy Day celebration. It featured both successful and upcoming Nigerian comedians, such as Gordons, MC Shakara, Agosave, Chicks the General, and many more. Let's see how it went down.
Still you do so now, God will bless you. Anytime one key, you make it this guy.
This is how some revelers in the FCT wanted to spend their Democracy Day holiday. Some with family, others with friends in a beautiful ambience around good-looking people, laughing to interesting jokes all through the night.
To get money good though, during Corona, one guy paid night 1 million naira. When Pastor here and collect number had for Pastor's WhatsApp group.
They got what they wanted. Although it did not take a second glance to notice that this edition of the Abuja Night of 1,000 Laughs was a bit shy of its usual verve. The red carpet was literally begging for friends, but guests did not seem cut out for all that spin, smile, and bunt-on drama. The guests list registered a couple of big names, but not heavy enough to literally bring down the hall or get the participants falling over.
Do you know Malawi will not come this show?
But hey, these are the future.
If you know you came with your wife, can you just clap for your wife? You came with your wife, come on.
Chooks the General was the anchor and did a good job as usual. He welcomed the guest, acknowledged the good strides of the show since its inception, and then set out for the business of the night, calling on stage the comedians one after the other.
Now let's say
the shell of the young country.
All our police, 92% of them, they need to go back to school. Then they go to school and they employ them. May I know you? He said, my name is Cyrus. He said, yes. What do you do? I said, sir, I'm an entrepreneur. What do you entrepreneur?
One common feature among the comedians from MC MOP, Edo Pikin, Ukodo, I Go Save to MC Shakara is that they were all hilarious, except for one who was trying a little too hard. Although the originator of the show, Upper Williams, was absent at the show, but his son told us some of the challenges Night of 1,000 Laughs is encountering.
To do a show, you need a good sponsor to come on board to help you pay your bills for your venue, do your publicities and all that. Because sponsorship right now has passed the level of, come, let me give you publicity. You need to know your ROI. You need to know what's your return on investment. If I'm giving you 5 million, I want to know what I'm getting back for the 5 million. It's difficult to get all that right now.
The guest appeared visibly contented and expressed it in words.
I'm quite impressed. It's been really funny. Like, obviously we came for laughs and then we've actually been getting laughs.
I've been having fun, like I'm having fun. I'm having serious fun. The comedians are really, really good.
Well, there are several events in Abuja today, over 4 different events, so maybe some of the persons decided to go there. Or the Upper Williams Night of 1,000 Laughs. Maybe some people are not, getting the usual vibe as it used to be. Hopefully it gets better next year.
Delta State-born comedian Godwin Komone, popularly known as Godons, brought the show to a climax with his signature intro.
Hallelujah. Abuja, I don't see the finish. I mean, the introducible clap happened. I heard that people are agitated for Biafra. Don't go yet. We say black in this country. Who want to be collecting this and to go to Aba? What rubbish? You touch and people get in the right way. People call you father. And you don't believe that cheaper, as if God is involved in this business.
For 26 years now, Night of 1,000 Laughs has been a show that will hit your location and turn frowns to smiles, not only because of the creative jokes and performances, but also the job opportunities it provides young talents. This event was not an exception.
Yeah, hello everyone, this is your boy Akbaro Road, coming out with too much swagger, too much anointing. You are watching Click Light on NTA. God bless you.
Well, Night of 1,000 Laughs is not that it used to be.
Well, that's true. I mean, it was evident in this last event that held in Abuja. And of course, I must tell you that very night, Wizkid and DJ Spinner were in Abuja. So, and there were many other events that must have shared the crowd, among all of this. So, and plus the issue of sponsorship, they've been dealing with the issue of sponsorship, for a number of years now. I think most of the partners of the program have kind of pulled out for one reason or the other, and this has affected the brands that would actually want to invest in the program, in the show rather.
Very true. Let's hope that next year it will be better with more sponsors.
Well, hopefully. Now, on that note, we draw the curtains on this week's episode of the program. Until we come your way next week,
keep watching us at DSTV 419. I am Buto Miller.
I'm Kemini Williams. Salute.
My feelings and nothing can stress me. The way I run the game, I'm feeling like referee.
No, like Moses parting the Red Sea, like a chauffeur, me in the back of the Bentley. So I step out, all white, can't stain. What you want? Rosé, champagne? I got that. Big bag, back pain. Taking the piss, the only time I can't aim. So we toasted a good life, living every minute to the full, cause I could die. Pull up at the spot, open doors, and it's suicide. Chilling rent free, where the check, please? Couple hundred G's on a good night. All I wanna do is jive, 220 on the highway. I'm about the energy. Baby, if it's good, send it my way. If it's bad, keep it private.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
I got the power. Power to the people, we the people got the power. Let's ride. I got the power.
I'm going to show you how to wrap a gift and make it look absolutely adorable. Here are some things that I got for wrapping the gift, like the wrapping paper, which I got from the supermarket, my sticky tape, which is always with me at home, and then some old hair clips that I just found just in case it's going to be useful, my adhesive, a cutter, the gift pack, my base, size of the gift. Obviously, we're going to use just maybe half of this sheet, so cut it in half. Remember, art is all about improvisation, so if you don't have a cutter, you can just get a kitchen knife and then just cut through, or a scissors. Place our gift pack right in the middle of the sheet. You lift. Make sure you have this sharp edge so that the wrapping will be very firm and tight. Then you lift. Here we have a very firm wrap. Make sure you fold it neatly so that you can have this surface very nice and presentable. When folding, try to always create a pattern. Like I just created a pattern with this.